Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to the Feminine Frequency podcast and to this soul client journey conversation with the lovely Liv, also known as Livia. I call her Liv, but I'm so excited to bring Liv into this conversation to celebrate her journey, to share about her company, her business, wellness, and for you to all get to know her and really learn through her transformation. So thanks for being here, Liv.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'd love for maybe you to introduce yourself a little bit, where you live, how old you are, let everyone know who they're listening to.
Yeah, so my name is Livia. Most people just call me Liv, though. I am 33 and I am based in Guam. So I'm the founder of Wellness Collective, and I am from Guam. I was away for about 14 years. I just moved back home last year to launch my business.
Yeah, and you've had so many exciting things happen. You recently got married, you launched a group program. Like there's just been so much growth and expansion in your world.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. I feel like 2020 already was such a change and a shift for a lot of people, but I also at the same time decided to, leave my job, move location, start a business, just completely shift a lot of things in my life. So I'm really, grateful to be here a year later, really getting to share some of the journey and the celebrations along the way as well.
Yeah. You have so much courage and such an entrepreneurial spirit. Like it just is so clear to me that this is the path for you that your soul has chosen. And so I'd love for you to walk us back to where you were at in your business and maybe in your life before we started working together.
Yeah, so I think when we a couple months ago, yeah, around April, I believe is when we originally connected. So at that time, for me, I had just hit a year in my business, a big milestone, reaching year one, and I think there were a lot of things that I was saying yes to at that time. So I think there's a fine line when you're starting a business of saying yes to things, right? Saying yes to things to grow the business, to get your name out there, to get the word out there. But I was definitely hitting that line of like, okay, maybe I'm saying yes a little bit too much. And I was beginning to, when I look back at even, what my calendar looked like at the start of the year and what I was doing, it was pretty stacked in terms of, back to back calls, events, going week over week. And so I think when I had found you and when we first started to connect, I would say that yeah, that was it was an exciting time because that means my business was growing, events were selling out, people were finding me, but I started to get into almost a hamster wheel of entrepreneurial life where you're just go go go. And so yeah, it was a really I think important time to start coaching and to just take a step back and look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, and one of the things that you just shared is like you came from a corporate background, you came from this corporate environment, and now you're shifting into your business and kind of carrying over some of those habits or some of those ways of operating in more of like the masculine way of operating before we started working together. And also what I'm hearing and something that you shared with me originally was like just not having a lot of boundaries like in your business, right? Like not really saying no. Also, there was a space of like, I believe that there's also like boundaries when it comes to like money and pricing and all of that. And so, like, through our work together, and a lot of what we've been working on is really like leaning into those challenging conversations, right? Like getting clear on what your yes and what your no is. And so I'm excited to really talk more about that today. So at that time you were about 1 year into your business, ready to get some support. Was there anything else that you were struggling with or that you like really desired to accomplish through coaching?
Yeah, I think, I'm a huge fan of coaching. I have experience being on the coaching side, the coach side, as well as the coaching side. And so I know that it's something that really works for me. But in my first year, definitely tried to shortcut it a little bit in terms of like, I joined an online sort of self-guided program. And I joined like a short group program that was kind of in its beta phase. And so I knew going into this year, going into 2021, that I really wanted one-on-one support, because one thing that I noticed, that I really feel aligned really well with you, is that I was really looking for someone that could understand my whole business. Coaching is one piece of it, but I have events, I have retreats, I have a membership community. And so I was really looking for support one-on-one, that with someone that could really understand like how that all comes together. And I think that you're the perfect person for that, because you've also experienced a lot of that yourself. But I think just at that time of reaching out, I was looking for one-on-one support, not necessarily in a group or community sort of setting at that time.
Yeah. So important that you know yourself and like what you're looking for. Okay. So you believe in the value of coaching, you understand it. And then there was like that point when we were in a conversation around like, are we going to do the thing? And really talking about the investment. And I like to talk openly about money, because I think it's super important for other women to see like, what does it actually take to lean into that moment where you're like, I believe in myself enough, or I believe in this possibility enough in order to spend this money and lean into this and invest in myself and my business. Or for some of my clients, they don't have businesses and just investing in themselves. And so for you, there was this decision, because I give the option, if someone wants to do a payment plan or if they want to pay in full, I give different options depending on what is going to be most supportive. And there is a slight discount when it comes to the pay in full. And so I'd love for you to walk us through like that decision-making process for you, and really share like what you decided and why you decided it.
Yeah, I definitely think that was definitely a pivotal like shift moment for me. Like one of the first, one of the many. But I think one of the things that stood out from the consultation that we had, was, I think one of the first questions you asked me was around like, what do you want? What are you looking to do? What do you want? And I think at that point, when you're running really fast as a business owner and as an entrepreneur going into year two, I don't think anyone really had asked me that ever before. And so I was like really used to holding space for others. So just even having that experience of, okay, someone's holding space for me, someone's asking me, what do you want? What's your vision? How do we get you there? So I think that was a big shift for me to think about, obviously the financial investment, but also like, what is this experience going to be for me? And how is this going to support me beyond just the investment? As when we connected, I was like nervous about the investment, because it's the biggest investment I made in myself. Like that's purely for me, right? And so maybe I've bought, plane tickets, or I've bought, other programs or other things for myself, but this was really just for my own personal development and for my growth. And so one of the questions that I had to ask myself is like, okay, if I don't do this, then I just stay as is, right? Like I could just keep going through the motions. Like it almost does take that like leap to then expand beyond that. And for me, that was that painful energy that we talked about. There is a different energy behind paying in full, and I had never experienced that before. Making a big investment in myself and just being like, I'm all in. And there was that shift that was like, okay, here we go. Like, this is going to work. And that's the same experience I had when I even launched my business, right? I'm like, okay, here we go. Like, I'm on my own. Like, it's going to work. I'm going to make it work. I'm going to get the most I can out of it. So it's cool because now I get to share that experience with clients that pay in full for me as well. When they're like, yeah, I think I'm gonna pay in full. I'm like, I know that feeling, and like I know that shift that happens, and like it is really exciting. So I think I now get to use my experience with my clients who pay in full, and it is a cool shift that gets to happen.
Yeah, so beautiful. And I really want to emphasize like both options are available for a reason. Like pay in full isn't for everybody. And in your case, what I really saw, because you asked me, you're like, what do you think, pay in full or payment plan? I was like, and then I referred the question back to you. I was like, well, what would feel different for you? And you're like, well, if I paid in full, I would really feel like I'm going 2 feet in, like jumping all in, ready to go. And that was the energy that you wanted to start this container with. You wanted to start this journey with, was this like, all right, I'm going for it. And
Yeah.
so that was just one of the first breakthroughs, like you mentioned, and just such a beautiful celebration of deepening your self-trust, deepening like your faith, and like really going for it. And yeah, and so that really led to the beginning of our journey together. And for me as a practitioner and as a coach, like just working with you is so fun because you are so open and coachable, and just like ready, like really ready to learn, really ready to grow, and really such an implementer too. So I would love for you to share maybe like some of the inner shifts. So we've talked a little bit about business. We'll go into a little bit more about some business results, but really for you, the inner journey around setting those boundaries, or around stepping into this next level of leadership in your business, bringing on a new employee. Like there's so many things that have to happen in order to create these results. So walk us through a couple of the inner shifts that you feel like you've experienced over these last 4 months together.
Yeah, I think the one you had mentioned it a little bit before as well, but one of the first things that we talked about, and I think it was also when I was going through the embodied boundaries course with you as well, was around boundaries. That was the first thing that I really had to get a hold of. And I think for me, I was thinking, I came from, yeah, being definitely more of a people pleaser, saying yes, not wanting to always give, wanting to always help and support. And at the time, I think I thought, okay, it's either you say yes or you say no. But I think in our work together, it really helped me really feel into like, what is my like, hell yes, let's go. I love this 100%. What's like, no, this doesn't feel good. But then also how to decide the middle ground. Like maybe it's a yes, but these are my like conditions, or maybe it's a no, but maybe we can connect in 3 months. Like, so really feeling into like, it doesn't have to be just like black and white, that you actually get to kind of like set the boundaries. And we also talked a bit about like energy leaks, of like getting back to certain people that maybe you have been holding off responding to, and just closing the gaps, like closing the energy leaks. I think that was the first shift, was like just starting to get really clear about my decision making, which as a one person team at the time was like, that is like, that changes your whole day, that changes your whole business. So I think that was the first thing. And then a big thing that you have really helped me through is really, holding in my value. And that's through not only maybe adjusting pricing and looking at, what are my rates, but also just helping me constantly up level. I'm seeing myself going to this level, and you're like, you're actually going to this level. And so that is like, just having you like right by my side through some of the launches that I've had, launching my first group program, like really just seeing my value and then reflecting that back to me has been a huge shift. It's like, okay, wow, okay, I actually am magnetic, and you see it, and we all like we can kind of build from build the programs and the business around that as well. So those were some of the early shifts that I experienced.
Beautiful. Yeah. I love that one that you shared about the energy leaks, and just to like really hone in on that for the listeners who want to understand more about that. It's like, if you have open loops where either you haven't like clearly said no to someone, or people are waiting to hear back from you and they're just like kind of in the periphery or the sidelines, like that's almost running, if you can think about it, like it's like the software in your computer or the app that's just running in the background, taking up space and taking up energy. Whereas like when you close that, you close the energy loop, you have energy available to devote to the things that you actually are a yes to and that do feel good for you. And so what you were saying, Liv, earlier about like part of the reason that like boundaries are challenging for you, or have been in the past, is because of people pleasing. So is there anything else that you want to share about that? Like what made it challenging in the past to like really speak your truth, or say, yeah, like say no to something? Like what was stopping you there?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was I starting, just being in year two, I was, anybody that reached out that was like, hey, can you do this? Hey, can you teach a yoga class? Hey, can you do this workshop? Hey, can you do this private party? Whatever it is. I was just saying yes to, because I was like, oh, they're interested, they're interested. Yes, let me see how I can help. Even if it was outside of the schedule that I would hope for, even if it was, just not super in alignment with I guess, my mission as a business. And so that was one of the, I guess, the lenses that I started to look at my decisions is like, okay, they might be a wonderful person, wonderful company, but is spending my time and energy on this project in alignment with my bigger vision for Ina Wellness Collective? Is it getting me closer there? And there's some people or some opportunities that come my way, and I'm like, yep, 100%. I love it. I want to be on board. But for the ones that you don't feel that right away, or you don't feel that initially, it's worth questioning like your time and energy resources and as an entrepreneur, and what actually makes sense for your business versus just being nice and wanting to help.
Yeah, I see that a lot, especially for people who are in like a service provider role where like either they're like trading services or they're giving discounts or they're saying yes, even if it doesn't make sense with their schedule. And it's like this giver almost, like giving to everyone else. But then at the end of the day, like you have 20 different things on your calendar and it kind of just feels like chaotic and you can't actually show up and be as present or that if the money exchange isn't there as well, like I see that a lot of times it is draining when you're showing up for a lot of little things at small prices. And then like you don't have the energy to like really show up in the way that you want to. So it's been really fun to see you like really step into your clarity and your decision making, like, and then being able to use that energy in the areas that you actually want to use it in.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about some of your business shifts and, what are some of the tangible results that you've gotten through this work?
So I think our first month together, I launched my only a couple of weeks after working together. I launched my first group program, which was amazing because I remember it came through so clear on our strategy session. I feel like you would ask me something around like, what's your superpower? What do you really love doing? And I really love holding space for groups. I really love being the connector. I really love that being in that nurturing role. And that I remember you said something like, yeah, have you ever considered a group program? Like, and it just became so clear. And so I think within like 3 weeks I was on sale, doors were open, landing page was up. And like, that was such a big momentum going into it. And that's something that, I was never offering before. That really is now like something I'm really excited about, and just opened the doors to my second group program just a few weeks ago. So, yeah, that was definitely one of the first things that we changed. And then, even some of the smaller things that I had never really done before that really shifted like my perspective of my business was, you had me do some market research to really get the messaging right for my one-on-one program. And I had never done that. I had never talked to, 10 people who were interested in creating healthy habits, and just hear from them. Like, what are they struggling with? What are they looking for? What's worked in the past? And so even just the exercise of doing that gave me so much more confidence in my programs, being like, yep, I'm creating something that people really need. And just hearing the words straight from their mouth really helped me in message, like, adjusting how I present it to the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, such a powerful process. And yeah, so you have, your group program, then like getting more clarity on your messaging. And then I know like one of the big things that we worked on, and you mentioned it briefly earlier too, was like raising your pricing. And like, I don't know if we doubled your one-on-one pricing, but I don't know that we doubled it initially, but it definitely like when you first came to me, like just seeing how much you were charging and how much you were giving, and like really just looking at like the gap and seeing that there was so much more possibility there, not just to charge because you want to charge more money and make more money, but like the service that you're providing and like the how much you're giving, and in exchange, like what's available there. So what was that like for you in that process of even like considering raising your prices? Because I know that wasn't just like okay, cool, let's just raise the price. Like, what
Yeah.
was that like for you?
Yeah, that's definitely been a journey for me. And I think the two things that were really mindset shifts that had to happen for that to happen was like, first of all, I think, and it's something that you had reflected back to me, is that, you know, when I initially started coaching, which I had gotten certified the year before, and I had gone through, I think this was maybe my like fourth round of clients, so that had come through. And then realizing that, yeah, okay, maybe when you're just getting started, when you're getting your first clients, you're charging a certain rate, you're feeling out the market a bit. But as you get more experience and as you start to improve your offerings and you add more to it and just your experience, you can charge more because you do have that experience. You know, you have helped people. It works. Like, you know, the process. And I think just having that experience of being like, yeah, actually, I have coached a lot of people now, and I have been every time, as you know, like every time you coach a new group or a new person, like it just gets better and better. The experience for them gets better and better over time. So I had to first realize that, yeah, I actually do have the experience, and that is super valuable, so I can charge more. And then the other thing was big because, you know, one of the missions I have with my business is to make wellness accessible. And for me, I thought, like, I just need to be able to cater to everyone. I want everyone to experience this. I need to have, you know, free offerings. I just want to make it accessible. But what I was kind of missing is that, yeah, if I'm not resourced, I'm not able to give all the other free workshops and classes and freebies. Like, that doesn't get created unless you're actually, you know, running your business and able to sustain, to have the energy to even create that. And so I do love that I have a wide range of offerings, from something that's free, something that's kind of, you know, people can come to my events, they can come to my retreats, but the one-on-one coaching and that one-on-one experience, which is super intimate and is the most direct contact with me, is valuable. So it was kind of looking at the full suite and realizing, like, people can meet me wherever they are, wherever they can. And that was a big thing, that just because you're charging more doesn't mean you're, for a certain service, doesn't mean you're, like, you know, cutting off a bunch of people from it.
Yeah, such a big shift, because you as a practitioner, if you're giving everything away for free or low cost and like not feeling supported, there's only so much that you can show up for. Like, you know, and I think that that's a really important reminder. Yeah, so beautiful. The last thing I wanted to bring to light here, there were so many things that we worked on throughout this process, but I know that you hired your first intern and stepped into like that role as a leader in your business and like bringing someone in. So what was that like for you? What are some of the things that maybe like you've learned throughout that process, or like to get to that place where you're like, yeah, I get to have support in my business and to be supported?
Yeah, definitely. Bringing on someone was really exciting because it was basic, and I just you know, extended it beyond an internship. Now she's working with me for a longer term amount. So uh, it definitely made, I think, the process of figuring out, okay, when do I hire someone? What do they do? Really came down to, okay, if I do want to grow and scale, and I do believe fully that my business is going to be growing in the next couple of years, there are certain things that I need to be focusing my energy on. There are maybe things that an intern or a part-time or a contract role can do that doesn't necessarily have to come from me, whether that's a small thing like sending an invoice, or maybe posting something on social media, or even just thinking about, like, what kind of partnerships should we go after next. And so I really loved getting to hire someone and just experience, like, okay, someone is still thinking about, you know, the behind the scenes while I was actually taking time off and relaxing and recharging and coming back refreshed. And so I really love having her as part of the team, and even just having someone to bounce ideas off of and celebrate some of the wins with. It's really been really great.
hmm Yeah, I want to highlight what you just mentioned too about taking time off, because I know that's part of your bigger vision of like having a month or two of vacation throughout the year and building that in. And really, you took that time this year to be in your feminine and to like create the space and like share. Can you share a little bit more about what that was like? Because that's
Mm-hmm.
like counterintuitive for most business
Mm-hmm.
owners to be like, I'm going to take some space off. Like, what was that
Yeah.
like for you?
Yeah, I think when on the consultation we had, when you asked me, like, what do you want? What's your lifestyle? Obviously, behind, outside of the mission behind why I'm doing, you know, why I've launched my business, from a lifestyle perspective, one of the big things I really wanted to experience as an entrepreneur is being able to take a month or two off a year and to travel. Travel has always been really exciting, a huge part for me. I have family and friends in a lot of different parts of the world. So I wanted to just have that space. And this year I took July off, I got married, I went around the world, and that experience of like, yeah, it can happen. And actually a lot of things still, opportunities came my way when I wasn't at my computer at all. And so just having that experience, I almost kept telling myself, like, you need this in order for everything else to, in order for the next second half of the year to, go in full speed. And I'm really glad I gave myself that month off, and I am already planning for next year. I'm like, okay, my month off, it's to get inspiration, it's just to think, it's to get some space. And I had a bunch of new ideas when I was traveling, as many people experience. So I feel like that is part of the creative process for me, is actually just getting some space and then experiencing it, like being the student. I was going to yoga classes and just being, not a business owner for a little while, just experiencing what I love doing. So
Mhm.
highly recommend it.
Yeah, and you did such a good job. I just want to emphasize of like preparing yourself for that, because you did have an idea, okay, this is when my next launch is going to be. And you're like, I want some content to go out while I'm gone. So you prepared yourself, you hired an intern, like you really set the structure in place so that you could lean back and relax. And
Mhm.
what I'm hearing is there was almost like a different type of productivity that happened while you were gone. Like the creativity that came through from the spaciousness that like you probably wouldn't get, and like that flow doesn't come when you're like just at the computer and like working all
Mhm.
the time. So
Mhm.
yeah, really celebrating you for taking that time, for trusting, and for creating that and building that into your life and your business.
It was so fun. Highly recommend
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Okay. So just a few more questions to highlight your journey. What was your favorite part of coaching together? And was there anything specific about my style of coaching that really works well for you?
Yeah, I love working with you. I'm like, how can I get more Amy in my life? Luckily, the podcast I can listen to when I get some Amy wisdom every now and then. But yeah, I think for me, I think the thing that really was worked so well with it, your coaching style, like at least my opinion, my experience was really a mix of the masculine and the feminine perfectly, right? Like you actually really helped me when it came to looking at the strategy, the growth, also even just things like, looking at some of the messaging on my landing page, like things that I would love a second set of eyes on. Those are things that were really helpful. But on the other side, you like brought the magic into it as well. You're like, okay, what's the energetics when you're behind a launch, right? How are you tapping into your feminine side and the abundance, and just kind of fusing in the magic with the business. And that to me was exactly what I was looking for. And actually, I like there was so much practical application that we did every week, but then it was also a lot of the mindset. And before, to be honest, I thought, oh, my mindset, I'm good with my mindset, I'm positive, I'm ambitious. I honestly didn't think I would have so many mindset shifts. And then once we started working together, I was like, whoa, this is like changing my mindset that really will impact me like for a really long time. So
Mm.
I think you really have been like my expander.
Thank you. Yeah, it's such a co-creative process, and I
Mhm.
love being in this space with you. And it really is such an honor to one of the things that I've been loving so much about coaching, especially just like working with women, is that like the ripple effect that happens through our work, then like you
Mhm.
get to take that into your business, into your relationships, and then share that this new energy, this new frequency, this new mindset, these new ways of being, and then being an example and being an expander for other women as well. Because I know there are lots of women listening right now who are like, whoa, like she did that with her business, or she's following her passion. Like I want to do that too. And so I'm really appreciative of you like taking the time to come here today and to share about your journey. And for the woman who's listening, who is like considering investing in coaching, whether it be with myself or with someone else, is there any like advice that you might give her if she's like afraid to invest, or if she's just
Mhm.
like on that edge and she's like, I've been thinking about it for a while, but I just haven't pulled the trigger? Like anything that you want to share with her?
Yeah, I think definitely one of the things that tipped me over, over the edge was that question I asked myself, like, okay, if I don't do this, then I stay stagnant. I keep doing it. I keep doing it the same way. And like the jump for me was like, I'm ready to take it to the next level faster, right? A coach, I might have launched a group program next year. Maybe I probably would have hired an intern eventually, but just the speed at which I did that in 3 weeks, I was like on sale, booked, 3 clients in for my group program, like so fast. So I think just the speed, if they're thinking about, I'm ready and I want to experience just like that, being in that container and just growing in a faster way and something that's also sustainable, I feel like coaching is perfect for that.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And lastly, I would love for you to share what you have coming up in your business, where people can follow you, get inspiration from you. You're a health coach, you host events, like just such an inspiring feminine leader. And so I'd love for you to share a little bit more about what you have going on and where people can find out more about you.
Yeah, so you can find me. My website is inawellnesscollective.com. Ina is spelled INA, and on Instagram it's Ina Wellness Collective Guam, since that's where we are based. But I have events, retreats, holistic health coaching, now one-on-one and group, as well as a membership community. And so, yeah, we are just, it's not just only on Guam, we have virtual events and we work with clients all over the world. So thank you for having me. This was so amazing, and I hope to connect with some of you soon.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Liv. I so appreciate you. And if you're listening to this and you are really serious about getting support, you're curious about coaching, please reach out to me. You can send me a message on Instagram at Amy Natalie Co. You can email me, Amy at Amy Natalie Co. And, whether it's for one-on-one or group, or also if you're not a business owner, there are so many different elements of transformation and spiritual and mindset development that we work on as well. So I'm here for you. I'm excited to support you. And Liv, thanks so much again for sharing your journey with us today.
Thank you. Bye.